definitely our website, which is AiShelter.com, and also our LinkedIn, which is simply AiShelter. And in terms of, kind of last remarks and just all of the kind of AI models and features coming out there, I think it's kind of truly just the beginning. I think this technology is going to, evolve very quickly as it already has, but I think there's definitely some good notes in this evolution, especially kind of correlating it back to the release of DeepSeek's AI model, which is a truly open source model where they have, the original code base.
Welcome to Only the Savvy. I'm your host, Nicole, and today we're diving deep with Jeremy Carr, CEO of AiShelter, the Fort Lauderdale startup that's making waves in AI and insurance universe. Jeremy, thanks for joining us. Before we dive in, can you give us a quick overview of your journey from benefits consulting to founding an AI company?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me. Nice to meet everyone. And as you mentioned, to give a little background, prior to founding AI Shelter, as you mentioned, for roughly the past decade, I've been working in the insurance sector, specifically as an insurance consultant on the health and benefits side, aligned to private equity verticals within the firms, I was working for, which include the likes of Aon, Lockton, and most recently, I was a principal at Mercer. Within these roles, really on a day-to-day basis, I was working on the logistics of insurance contracts and the feasibility of insurance programs for designated population groups or employees of a certain employer. This includes what are known as point solutions within the insurance industry, which are basically niche programs, providers, or benefit types to either combat a novel risk, some sort of high cost scenario, or provide some sort of specific coverage, if you will. So to give some examples here, really you can think of pet insurance, prepaid legal services, ID theft programs, and even cyber MGAs or companies who are underwriting cyber insurance policies. This is ultimately how I was able to conceptualize the concept of creating a new type of insurance, artificial intelligence liability, or really what we've coined as AIL back in 2021 when the initial release of ChatGPT really was resulting in lawyers being sanctioned by some New York City courts for utilizing incorrect case law in their legal arguments. So at AI Shelter, that is really exactly what we've developed: artificial intelligence liability insurance for businesses who are either developing or deploying AI systems and individuals or end users of AI systems. We've also partnered with the largest reinsurance company currently, really to gain the authorities needed to enter the insurance market, which is such a regulated, market.
Wow, what a fascinating transition. And yes, I can only imagine how complex what the regulations are with insurance in this industry for you. Now, let's cut to the chase. The tech world is buzzing about AI and blockchain governance right now. You're at the forefront of this. What's your take on how these technologies are reshaping the industry as we speak?
However, insurance necessitates true risk management to ensure compliance with all laws, regulations, standards, and industry best practices. So that really is exactly what we've developed on the technology side: a proprietary AI risk large language model and AI risk management workbench, which is really, designed for companies who are developing or deploying AI systems, giving them a live view into their AI system's risk profile from code to cloud while delivering dynamic AI risk mitigation, compliance, and governance tasks and features. Our initial product, the Cogman AI Analyzer, simplifies integration of AI models and systems into the AI Shelter risk management dashboard or workbench via secure SSO. This integration allows companies to seamlessly capture technical AI performance metrics in real-world deployment environments, ensuring comprehensive risk assessment and coverage through AI Shelter.
Now, let's focus on AI Shelter. How does your company leverage these AI trends we've discussed to address specific challenges in the insurance industry?
Yes, so the insurance industry, as I mentioned previously, is of course very highly regulated at the individual state level and also the federal level within the United States through NIAC. And as I was mentioning previously, our AI risk management workbench allows companies developing or deploying AI systems to really ensure compliance with all laws, regulations, standards, and industry best practices that they're operating within. So with AI Shelter ourselves really operating in the insurance industry, this is really definitely an industry we've spent a significant amount of time developing solutions to the current industry specific challenges relating to artificial intelligence. And ultimately, those I currently view as the proposed NIAC AI regulations and bulletin. So really within the NIAC AI bulletin, NIAC is focusing on algorithmic bias, transparency, explainability, and disclosure of AI systems, model testing and validation, consumer protection and fair practices, and data privacy and security. However, within conversations with NIAC AI task force members, they currently do not have a way of truly evaluating and validating AI systems, or in essence, putting their proposed regulations into practice. And I'm happy to say that this is one of the core missions of AI Shelter and ultimately the main functionality of our workbench. Companies have tools like our NIST AI Risk Management Framework Compliance API, which allows companies to in real time evaluate their AI system against the NIST AI Risk Management Framework and receive tailored recommendations to bring the system to compliance in the applicable areas if needed. We also have similar tools for streamlining various AI-related ISO certifications and all AI-specific laws within the EU and US on a federal and individual state level.
Wow, that's extremely fascinating on all the different areas that you guys are already in, and it's extremely fascinating. Now let's talk crypto. Bitcoin has been on a roller coaster. How do you see AI enhancing transparency in crypto markets, and how do you see crypto and AI working together?
Yeah, so AI, really excels at decision making and automation, while Web3 and blockchain, really provides decentralization, transparency, and trust. So together, they really create a foundation for fair, accountable, and innovative digital ecosystems. AI for enhanced security and blockchain is definitely an avenue that I see crypto and AI working together, and a few others, which I'll go through. But really, AI, as I was mentioning, for enhanced security of blockchain, can operate in a few ways, really. So AI can detect anomalies, prevent fraud, and enhance the security of blockchain networks. For example, AI can analyze behavioral patterns to flag potential exploits or optimize, consensus mechanisms for scalability and efficiency. If you're looking at things like AI-powered smart contracts, blockchain smart contracts would be deterministic, are deterministic, and really AI can introduce a dynamic context-aware decision-making aspect. So for example, AI could optimize trade execution and DeFi protocols. And then I guess really to give you some real world use cases of crypto and AI working together, looking at a few different industries, really within healthcare, blockchain could in essence secure patient data while AI really analyzes that patient data for insights, and in essence ensuring compliance with privacy regulations with like HIPAA. And then in the insurance industry as well, AI can assess risks in real time, while blockchain ensures an immutable record of assessments and payouts. However, of course, there are some challenges in essence of crypto and AI working together, such as the energy consumption of both blockchain and AI, and kind of putting those technologies together, of course, you know, that energy consumption, of course, increases. And then really another aspect would be just the overall complexity of integrating AI with decentralized systems while still ensuring fairness in those tokenized AI ecosystems.
Speaking of transparency, Elon Musk just recently suggested putting government spending on a blockchain. As someone deep in this space, what's your read on this, and is it even viable to do something like this?
So definitely a good point in terms of viability. I think from a technology perspective, I can see the value prop of creating, some sort of log tracking of government spending on a blockchain. This would really allow for transparency via a public ledger that can be viewed really by anyone. However, of course, with that, I have kind of some immediate concerns in my head. For instance, from a national security perspective, I'm sure, the US government doesn't want per se public information out there in terms of defense budget per certain line items. Um, and as you mentioned, really just the overall feasibility of all government spending being tracked from a system perspective. And then, of course, you have things like dark budgets or, what some people call the government cash business to include cash generations and expenditures, which definitely not all will be thrown on the public blockchain. Uh, However, those are in essence obscured today from the general public. So even if those were left off of that blockchain ledger, it wouldn't truly change much from today. And overall, whatever data is ultimately included on that blockchain ledger would be, an improvement from, in essence, the paper system today in terms of public access and transparency. And then I guess really another aspect would be reducing costs. I don't per se imagine that this would initially reduce costs in terms of putting all of this information on a blockchain and kind of linking all of the systems together. But, in the long term, that may potentially pay off kind of depending on, really how much waste or potential fraud it's able to reduce.
That's interesting to hear. So let's shift gears to recent AI developments. DeepSeek seems like it's just hearing it everywhere since it dropped this weekend, and it's making waves as this new model. How does this stack up against other players? Is this game changing?
So in terms of, one, I guess a few things to address within the response. Really, in terms of performance metrics, the model is definitely performing extremely well compared against some of the frontier models. However, there are definitely some, technical challenges and limitations. For example, prompt sensitivity, performance declines with few shot prompts since the model is really optimized for zero shot scenarios. And really applying zero shot prompts that fall outside of the pre trained data scope can lead to inaccuracies, ethical issues, operational failures, and ultimately erosion of trust. So really, to prevent such risks, it's essential to one, understand the model's scope, two, use prompts and workflows that align with its strength, and three, validate outputs for critical applications. And just to provide a little bit more detail here, few shot prompting examples are included in the input, whereas few shot scenarios do not include the example in the input. Only the task description is provided. And really understanding whether a model is optimized for zero shot prompts or scenarios is really crucial because it determines how effectively the model can generalize to new tasks, really handle unfamiliar instructions, and then perform in real world applications without specific guidance. And ultimately, if a model is zero shot prompted, it relies entirely on its pre training and reinforcement learning for reasoning and task comprehension. So ultimately, users need to be aware of this to craft clear and specific prompts, avoid making incorrect assumptions about the model's capabilities for ambiguous or complex tasks, and then also ensure the model is not applied to tasks outside of its pre-training scope. So if the zero-shot prompt asks the model to perform a task that lies outside of its training scope, or really the pre-trained cold start data, it can lead to several negative real-world outcomes. And I think that's kind of an aspect of if this model compares to this model versus that model, it's ultimately these models are set up to handle prompts differently. And I don't think it's per se going to be a one size fits all. It's going to be we use this model for this specific task and this model for that specific task.
Understood. Are there any concerns around DeepSeek right now with privacy? I know today hearing in the news that I guess it has it in there or something that there are privacy concerns with what we're inputting in this model.
Yeah, so it is a little bit complex, and they did release multiple technical papers. Um, but there is definitely some gaps in transparency in terms of the pre-trained data scope, as I was mentioning, and there's really no explicit list of data sets or benchmarks used for pre-training, the breadth of coverage within specific domains, and then also details on factual Q&A data sets or writing tasks. So this lack of information makes it harder for users, as I was mentioning before, to ultimately precisely understand what the model's boundaries are and what sort of task would fall, kind of within scope of that pre-trained cold data start. And then another aspect that I also heard is that DeepSeek was, or at least they're claiming that we're a victim of a cyber attack. So that's kind of just another aspect where information kind of really isn't out there in terms of ultimately what sort of cyber attack, and given that the model is open source, ultimately what that means for people who are using the DeepSeek model directly on their website, or individuals who are cloning that code and utilizing the model on their own devices.
Oh wow, that's quite interesting. Now, shifting turns here, let's dive deeper into AI Shelter. In a nutshell, what specific problems are you solving in the AI insurance space right now?
Yeah, so some of the specific problems that we are currently solving, really the main problem that we're solving is, affirmative artificial intelligence liability coverage. So really today, in terms of existing insurance policies and contracts, ultimately it's very opaque and very similar to, in essence, how the cyber insurance market was born. What they deemed back then as silent cyber, they are now deeming as silent AI coverage, meaning current contracts and policies don't specifically include coverage for artificial intelligence liability or incidences, and they don't per se necessarily exclude them. So, in essence, if you are a company or an individual who develops or utilizes artificial intelligence, and you suffer some sort of loss or artificial intelligence liability incident, you're kind of at the mercy of your carrier and your current insurance policies if ultimately you have an avenue of recourse.
That's interesting. So, what's like a killer feature of AI Shelter that has investors and users maybe excited right now?
Yeah, so one, to hit on the insurance side, just to kind of give a real life example. So ultimately, we are based out of Fort Lauderdale, or Broward County specifically, and within Broward County, there are examples of AI agents actually targeting homeowners and those homeowners' mortgage companies. And in essence, they're able to impersonate the homeowner and have a mortgage company transfer a title to an AI agent. So the original homeowner no longer has a home, and ultimately their insurance or insurance doesn't per se cover that or exclude that within their policy. So, from an insurance product perspective, I think that's definitely uh, a product of interest out there, right? For some of these specific use cases that are kind of manifesting them in current news cycles and things of that nature. And then ultimately on the technology side, as I was mentioning, our AI risk management workbench is ultimately just complying with all of these evolving AI laws, regulations, standards, and best practices, since it seems almost on a daily basis some of these laws and regulations are coming out, being per se uh, repealed, right, via executive order, and with especially with the change in administration, there are things that are overlapping and conflicting, and that's very important, especially in such an evolving landscape like AI regulation and compliance.
Absolutely. No, it's definitely important right now. Looking ahead, what's on AI Shelter's roadmap? Any upcoming features or partnerships or anything that our viewers should be watching out for?
Yeah, so in terms of features, we are actually launching what we call the AI Shelter Verified AI Seal. So this is in essence really some sort of market designation where consumers and users can ultimately rely on to do the vetting on their behalf of some of these AI systems in terms of, is this an AI system that you can trust? Is it going to be safe, and things of that nature? And that can also be repurposed for regulators in terms of truly validating an AI system, especially when you're looking at some of their proposed regulations that require all of these reporting matrices and things of that nature. And ultimately, when they don't have an avenue or in essence a tool to validate an AI system, it's hard for them to enforce some of these regulations. And of course, they're just pushing that back onto the companies that are wanting to use artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. So, before we wrap up, Jeremy, where can our viewers learn more about AI Shelter and potentially getting involved? And is there any last thoughts that you wanted to leave the audience with, especially in this current moment of so many different AI models coming out that you can provide for words of wisdom?
Yes. One in terms of where you can find more information on AI Shelter, definitely our website, which is aishelter.com, and also our LinkedIn, which is simply AI Shelter. And in terms of, kind of last remarks and just all of the kind of AI models and features coming out there, I think it's kind of truly just the beginning. I think this technology is going to, evolve very quickly as it already has, but I think there's definitely some good notes in this evolution, especially kind of correlating it back to the release of DeepSeek's AI model, which is a truly open source model where they have, the original code base, linked to Hugging Face and GitHub, so you can kind of clone that code and really evaluate that code in terms of vulnerabilities and things of that nature. So I think that's a very promising aspect, kind of compared to closed source models, where you can't even do your own personal due diligence because you don't have access to that. So I think that's definitely a positive note for the whole of artificial intelligence moving forward.
Jeremy, thanks for dropping some serious tech knowledge today. Viewers, you just got an inside look at the future of AI and blockchain with Only the Savvy. But before you go, smash that subscribe button, hit like, cruise down to our description for some mind blowing deals that'll make your wallet thank you. But just as a disclaimer, we keep it 100 here. This is purely educational, not financial advice. Always do your own homework before diving into any investment. Only the savvy keep ahead of the curve. Thank you again for tuning in. Stay savvy.
SIM swap fraud is sweeping the globe, and your mobile security is at risk. Switch to Efani and lock out SIM swap fraud and get the most elite mobile protection in the world. Efani guarantees 100% protection from SIM swaps, backed by a $5 million insurance policy. Stay secure with reliable coverage, free international roaming, and unlimited data. Trust Efani to keep your communications and assets secured. Get military-grade protection, 24/7 concierge service, and a hassle-free upgrade. Click the link below for $150 off. Thanks for watching. Help support this channel and receive exclusive offers from one of our partners located in the description. We'll see you on the next one.